have here, I believe, not sure if it was the longest covered bridge in the country, in the world, but it used to span right here next to the other one. It was burned in 1863 during the Civil War. They tried to just blow up a section of it to keep the Confederates from crossing over and getting to Harrisburg, the capital of Pennsylvania, and then heading to Philadelphia. Confederates captured York, then came here to Wrightsville. They were held back, pushed temporarily. Then I'm not sure which span they tried to destroy here. I don't know if it was the first one, the second one, or what. Gunpowder was set ahead of time, but it wasn't enough to destroy the section and drop it into the river. Now, as you can read, if you pause the video and can read the board that's the board over there that I took a picture of, it says that civilians set fire to the bridge. Reading material that I have found online state that it was the Union Army with the help of civilians, a few, doused the damaged section with kerosene and whatnot to burn it, but they didn't expect it to burn the entire bridge. Apparently, what I read online and found was, and this comes from a major Civil War historian, even saw a video where he was interviewed, that the wind that night or that day, or actually that night, it was during the night, well, day and night, I suppose, if memory serves, that they weren't expecting the wind to carry the flames. They were hoping it was just going to burn one section, and when they realized that the wind was taking the fire through and across to the east side of the river, many attempts by locals and the Union Army to extinguish the fire, to at least keep it from going all the way over there. They made attempts, but it was a failed attempt, and the entire thing burned. Now, that was a covered bridge for walking pedestrians, horse and carriage, and the railroad. Now, I did see, I guess it would technically be a drawn photo, that when the bridge came on the shore here, it would have turned and came this way. Now, there are a couple old stone homes over around here that definitely would have been here in 1863, along with many other homes that were probably torn down and rebuilt later. But that big building was not there, because that's where the bridge would have came and turned, and the railroad tracks actually went north as it turned and went north. So I'm not even sure if the John Wright store and restaurant was actually here in 1863 or if it was built after that. But I know I can tell you that whatever that manufacturing is, I think it's a foundry, because there's some old ladles sitting up by the parking lot looking like historic memorabilia from the beginning of the day, the beginning days of whatever was there. Or if it was there, it wasn't near as big as it is now, because it completely blocks up the straight line coming off the river, off the piers. So, and the drawing that I've seen before the bridge was burned is definitely showing that that wasn't there in 1863 and before. So, but to think the engineering marvels, as they call it, which, I mean, in reality it would have been. Now granted, you think today, at least I used to think, well, how did they put in bridge piers in the river? But in the, you figure in the 1800s, I don't believe it, none of the dams that are on the Susquehanna River were built yet. None of them were here. So the river flow and the river level would have been much different. Like even now, we've not had a lot of rain. We went weeks and weeks and weeks, almost like a month without rain. Creeks and rivers at their lowest levels. But you wouldn't know it here because the water's backed up behind the dam. So of course, back in the day when, before the dams, river levels would have been much lower and capable of making an earthen dam to direct the water flow around so that they could have dry land to get out on and build these said stone piers, or the concrete bases that they are either surrounded by or built upon, or I'm not sure if they were added later, but it is an amazing sight to think of building and spanning a covered bridge. Because I know in some of the readings and stuff and the information that I had found online, the locomotives for the railroad, they would have to remove, like before the Confederate Army got here, they didn't want the Confederates getting a hold of any of the railroad equipment and such, but they would not actually take a locomotive running across that bridge because of it being covered and the heat coming out of the stack. So they actually had to remove, I think they had to remove the stacks off the locomotive engines, and then they pulled them across to the east side of the river by mules. And I'm assuming, I think they did the same thing prior. Trains would have to, stuff with goods on train cars would have to be pulled across by mule. And there was locomotives on each side then to continue the train movement later, but actually cross, the trains would not run to cross this bridge because of starting a fire on the roof of the covered bridge. So there's a lot of history that I don't remember, stuff that I read that I can't remember. But if you look up Wrightsville Bridge, the burning bridge, or the burning of the bridge, there's tons of information to be found online. All the information with the Confederate generals and soldiers and all and whatnot, the Union Army. Of course, now today, you know, over 100, let's see, 1863 to 1963, that's 100 years, and then, so we're like 160 some years after. And of course, you know, progress and development on both sides of the river I do believe on the east side there's an antique store. I do believe the building that's in may be an original building from the 1860s. Like I said, over here, I know there's a couple stone houses. There's lime kilns over here. You know, all that stuff was here. There was plenty of people that the town of Wrightsville was here, and the town of Columbia was here in 1863, and you know, quite full of people and industry and whatnot. So, but nothing is as it was then. Some things are, but more has been added, so it takes away from being able to see for our own eyes what it was like then. And of course, there wasn't much in the way of photography, personal drawings by artists for, you know, to document in a photographic manner. Kind of like the drawing on the board over there that I took a picture of. One would think that you're looking at the picture that the picture was drawn from right here, and the road, the little path going down to the water was here. But if that's the case, then looking at the photo and the angle of the covered bridge, then the bridge on this right side of the photo should be closer to the artist's rendition drawing that the Library of Congress has from 1850. But instead, it almost would appear like the drawing was done from a vantage point downriver, down that way, looking at the bridge from the south, not the north. But of course, you know, the image, there's no detail on saying where the vantage point was for that. Somebody lost some glasses. Oh, whatever it doesn't make me look like. They've been here a while. They got spots and stuff on them. Yeah. But what the heck is? It's tied around rocks. Why? I don't know. Let's take a little. Oh, grasshopper. Grasshopper. So much trash. Oh. Kind of sad. People are always trashing up the river. Battery. I'm sure. What the hell is that? And why? What the heck is that supposed to be? Why would we have... What the heck are they trying to keep away? Oh, the geese, I bet you. I wonder if that's to keep the geese away. And the reflective strip along the... It's either to keep the geese away, or it's just to scare people when they come down from the bar to come down to the river. Oh, that's funny. All right. So, oversleeping today is going to keep me from going as far west across over on this side of the river as I wanted to originally go today. This is as far as I'm going to get. Oh, see now that looks like... That's a poured concrete base of a leg or something. That's some old history right there. Don't know what it's from though, but that's iron. My goodness, look at all that iron. Okay, so I can imagine. Butterfly. Butterfly. Come here, butterfly. Butterfly. I just want to get a better close-up of you. Yummy foam. What is that from? Well, I would say I want to detect in that water, but we got this kind of foam here. I don't know that I want to be in the water. Pipe's got a little buildup. So, well, I am thinking that this little, there ain't much of a park here, but it's just a little bit. See, these rocks, these were specifically placed here for water drainage back in the olden days. a natural spot way for the water to run. All the little rocks that are under the grass, specifically put there. So, but you gotta wonder if the Union Army had come across, because the photo that I had found online was the Union Army was on this side preparing preparing for the Confederates' advance. So if the bridge came around here to this side, and then there was structures that had to do with the railroad, like the railroad station and whatnot, that would have been up there. So the Union armies very well could have been camped out back here. I'll be right back because we're going to head over there and get a closer look at the lime kilns.